Hey, how are you guys? Hope you can hear me. Sit tight for just a minute. I'm adjusting a few things and letting a few people come on, and then we will get going. All right. People are starting to pile on. This is all a beautiful adventure. I'm so happy to have, thanks to the team at LinkedIn. Over here where you can't see it, I have a nice image of the stream where I get to watch your comments and see how many people are coming on. I'll do my best to say hello in just a minute. Hey, Melissa. Hey, Laura. In just a minute, we'll get started. I have a fun topic, a few announcements as well on this gloomy, rainy day in Houston. Oh, wow. My granddaughter just sent me a note. How you like that, world? All right. Hey, Wabi, what's up? Shaquila, Kingsley, hey. So nice, so nice, so nice. Let's let some more people pile on for just a minute. Johnny, you are way too kind, my friend. Glad that you're here. Oh, Amori from Brazil. Hey, man, how are you? Amir, good to see you. Mr. Yogo, what would a stream be without Yogo? Hey, Rob. We got Rebecca. We got Marco. This is looking like a party. I'm very excited. Hey, Brian, former MBA student. Let me tell you something. I love what I do, but I miss you guys. That was too much fun what we did back in the day, wasn't it? A lot of fun. Enrique, how you doing, bud? You're in Barcelona. Good to have you here. Felipe, I see some hearts, some likes, man. You don't know this is the best job in the world. Hey, everyone. Give it just a moment and we'll get started. Julio, Colombia, how you doing? Good to see you. Good to see you. Hopefully we'll pick up some more as we go. All right. I am very aware that this is going to you live no matter where you are around planet Earth. And some of you, it's morning. Some of you, it's midday. Some of you, it's afternoon. Some of you, well, you're probably supposed to be sleeping. I hope you're watching this on video later. Hey, Sandy, how you doing? Good to see you. So good. Okay, let's get started. And I'm going to look back and talk to you a little bit in just a few minutes. Hi, how are you? This is Dr. D streaming live, and it is a rainy, overcast, not so fun day. So thanks to you for giving me an opportunity to try and be an educator and a motivator right here on LinkedIn. Let me start with some housekeeping, a few props. Big thanks to LinkedIn. I, as both a person who watches and a person who is starting to do regular streams, am really loving the live service. So thank you very much. I can't wait to see how this evolves. Let me give a shout out as well to all the other folks who are in this big, awesome beta test with LinkedIn live streaming. For everyone who digs me, whether you have checked out LinkedIn Learning yet or not, let me tell you, there's so many other interesting people at LinkedIn, other experts not part of the platform, and colleagues of mine who are instructors who are streaming and doing a killer job. For example, I'm just unabashed energy. That's the way I am. You want to see a different version of equally amazingly value-added content from one of my friends, go check out Dave Crenshaw. He's always putting on streams that look so professionally produced. It'll knock your socks off. Props to you, Dave. Hey, how you doing? Antonio, good to see you. Robin, hi, from Missouri. How are you? Okay. Another shout out. The other day I was supposed to be, or this week I think I was supposed to be on stage doing a TEDx talk live from Texas A&M University, and it didn't happen for all the reasons that you know. Maybe I should back up and say, hey, I hope you're doing okay. I think we've all, for better or worse, adjusted to this new reality, and a whole lot of us are working from home and are online in ways that we just didn't used to be at all. So thanks for doing what I'm doing, coping and trying to see the glass half full, the opportunity. That TEDx talk, I believe, is supposed to be rescheduled for the fall. I'm very excited about that. But in the meantime, they put on the other day what they call a TEDx salon, which was me and a couple other really amazing women who are PhDs in different areas, and we all talked about kind of related themes online in a moderated discussion. I believe if you'll search TEDx Tamu on LinkedIn, Facebook, and in general, just Google it. You'll find the video of that session. It was a blast. I invite you to go check it out. Maybe you'll find it motivational or instructional in some sense. And this fall, live in Texas at Texas A&M University, we shall be doing that. In fact, we're using StreamYard right now as the tool that helps LinkedIn put on these live sessions. And if I understand it correctly, this whole session, which I'm actually going to begin formally in just a second, will be available to you on video on my YouTube channel. So when this is done a few hours later, definitely go check out the YouTube channel. You'll find this video and a whole bunch of other videos that I've done over time, probably a useful addition to your library if you've not seen that channel yet as well. Okay, so thanks. The world's greatest moderator put Dave Crenshaw's name in the comments. Definitely check that out for sure. Okay, today's topic I think has some ring, draws people in immediately. Purpose beyond paycheck. Now, as a leadership generalist, I wear a lot of hats, and there's many slices of that leadership pie, right? Communication, motivation, conflict, creativity, innovation. I love many of them, but the higher level messages for me speak to something beyond getting something done every day. Leadership better be first about getting things done every day. We know that. Great managers help people achieve goals. Period. That's basic 101 stuff. But they do more. I'm going to dare to say in this talk for just a couple of minutes, we should do more. I feel we're required to do more. We spend more time at work, folks, than we spend at home or doing anything else in life. So why aren't we trying to do more? Purpose is a word that rings true for me. I don't know how much you experience it. I am grateful beyond words to tell you that I live a blessed life. I get to do things I enjoy doing. People eat it up and find it useful, and it makes me a living. Are you kidding me? I found my purpose in my late 20s. I don't know where you are on that journey, but if you influence others, or if you're in formal leadership roles, you should care about this thing that I'm calling purpose. So let's think about what it is. Let's start with studies of what motivates people. You know what? I could pontificate, act like a professor. I gave up that job some years ago and start quoting science. I'm not going to do that, even though everything I talk about is always informed by science. Instead, let me start by asking you, and I'm going to watch those comments. So tell me, what motivates employees? What's the top one or two thing that really motivates employees? Jump over to the comments right there. Tell me what you think. What is it that actually works in terms of motivating a team to get things done? Let me take a peek, see if anyone jumps up. Hey, Alvaro from Uruguay. Susan, hi, Susan. Someone want to jump in? What is it that actually works in the world of motivation? What do employees care about? What drives them to get things done? Why do they show up and actually strive to be productive? What motivates them? What do you think? Pete, you said joy of achievement. Gosh, Pete, I wish I worked with you. Because I think that is true of a whole lot of people. Now, statistically speaking, what percentage, I don't know, but I love that. Javier says, using your talents. I think that's huge. And I don't think we do nearly a good enough job to try and give people the opportunity to do just that. There's Brian saying, have a purpose. I'm going to come back to that because I love that answer. Sandy, opportunity for growth and improvement. That is beautiful for sure. All these things, when we do research, show up on that list. Amir mentions one of my favorite, and I mean this, favorite, even though it was discredited a little bit, pieces of research. Maslow's hierarchy of needs. We have some basic needs leading up to higher level stuff. Higher level stuff, self-actualization is what Maslow called it. We're going to call it purpose, which is some version of the higher levels in his work. Feeling significant, Jeremy, thanks. Robin, I think it depends, she says, on the person. Some like recognition, some it's money. Thank you for that, Robin. I love this answer because one of my favorite go-to answers I'm kind of known for is, hey, it depends. Let's think about this. Not everyone is the same. Cookie cutter responses do not work. One size does not fit all. So let's think about that. What really does motivate people? We do research and we ask them, listen carefully, money always shows up on that list. Money matters to them. Money rarely shows up as number one. Now, this might sound strange to some of you, But for small classes of employees and for this group of employees we often call managers, money is often very high, sometimes number one. But for most employees, no, it's other things. Money typically shows up as a motivator on that list, but not in the top 5, if you will. It's usually around 6, 7, 8, something of that nature for a whole lot of people. Now, I'm very curious. Let me ask you a question. If that's true, does money matter? I mean, really, is it important that we're paying people? Would they show up if we weren't? I think you know the answer to that. It's a requirement. We know it's important. Man, there's some great answers. Curiosity, sense of belonging. Hey, sunshine, passion without purpose is pointless. Thank you for saying that. There's lots of reasons people show up and they wouldn't do it without money. That's part of the transaction. Yes, that's true. But I have to remind you, it's always a prominent secondary motivator. It is rarely something of top importance for most people. So what really matters to them? Well, some predictable things, many of which you have begun to already talk about in these comments, really do show up at the top 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spots on the list, if you will. Things such as having a chance to use your skills, having opportunities for growth, feeling like you're not wasting your time, meaning you actually see some worth in the team, you respect the people, you have, this is huge, you ready? You have some say in the matters that affect you. Yeah, you feel not like you're receiving commands from a boss, but you're part of a team collaborating to get things done. These ideas probably, to some of you, sound easy, but believe me, every day we're so busy that we forget that is the goal. That is the best way to relate to other people, especially as a formal leader. And so we don't do it, and then people feel like they're just taking orders. No one has ever moved from mere compliance to strong commitment when they just feel like they're taking orders. They have to feel like they're part of something more. So I want to tell you what I think about purpose and some of my experience with purpose. And then maybe give a couple tips and tricks, that any practicing person at work who's influential, whether they're a leader or not, can use to try and help others experience a little of that awesome purpose. So, the truth is I do a lot of things around this world of leadership, life success, all of these notions. Love to write. I write tweets, I write blogs, I write books. I'm working on the next one, by the way. It's called Live Hard, and I'm about 13 stories in. It's going to be a book of stories, just like Show Your Ink was. Very excited. Should be out late this year, maybe Q1 next year. I'm not sure. Very excited. I write blogs and tweets and books, and I get up a lot of talks. I've been doing lots of talks for lots of groups online lately, which is turning out to be immense fun. I really never anticipated. So, hey, you're looking for that silver lining. I found mine. I'm having fun right now. But I have to tell you, as a speaker who gets a lot of chances to step on stage and step in front of cameras, I don't always feel the same about every client. Now, I'm going to have to choose my words carefully because I do not want any of my clients to actually hear me saying something bad. I'm not. I just have a sense, we all, every task, every project, every gig, have a sense that somehow this one is, well, a little more alive, a little more emotional, a little more purpose-filled than other ones. That's not good or bad. It's just that things vary. That's honest, isn't it? And I think back about the 1,000+ talks that I've done for so many groups in so many places, I can't possibly recall them all. And I think to myself, hey, where was my favorite one? I think about this a lot because people ask me all the time, hey, where was the most cool place, the best group, the biggest group, your overall favorite talk, et cetera, et cetera. It's hard to answer that question, but I started writing this book, Live Hard, and I thought about the issue of purpose, and I came up with an answer. Several gigs that I think so fondly of that I can't wait to tell you about them right now. And guess what? I can't believe I'm saying this. I can't believe I'm saying this. I hope this isn't being recorded. They were pro bono. They were supremely purpose-driven pro bono talks. Now, I'm happy to say I work for embarrassing fees for large corporations on a regular basis. But the truth is, sometimes I get calls from fascinating schools, churches, nonprofits, smaller organizations with no budget to speak of at all, who say, please come on out, man, give it a shot, motivate the troops. I have a handshake for you. That's what I can pay you. And I usually say yes. Now, if you're in a corporation, big budget, don't try that, won't work. But I love saying that every year I keep myself clean and service minded by accepting lots of those pro bonos, and they're very often my favorite. I'm not sure how to explain that. Maybe you can speculate and tell me what you think. By the way, before I forget, my amazing moderator is going to post in the comments, which I don't recall exactly the link. She's got it. I have a course called New Manager Foundations at LinkedIn Learning. There's a section dedicated to purpose, today's topic. In that course, if you've not yet discovered me as a LinkedIn Learning instructor, I hope you'll check it out, share it with your team, tell your boss, the whole team might enjoy it. I think you'll find it useful. So thank you, Miss Cheryl, for sharing that. Back to the gigs that blew me away, the ones I didn't see coming, the ones that frankly did not put one dime in my pocket, that somehow made me a better person. Here we go. The first dealt with a food bank. I live in Houston, Texas, and I like this place a lot. Today, it's actually quite gloomy and dark. The day in question, it was sunny, it was bright, it was a great day, and I was excited. Why? Because I had been doing volunteer work for an organization called the Houston Food Bank, which has won many awards for being amazing at what they do. And what they do, back to purpose, they have strong purpose. They create and deliver, collect or create, and then deliver meals to tons and tons of people. Let me tell you who the Houston Food Bank really is. This is 300,000 plus square feet of world-class, modern, tech-advanced space with kitchen facilities and distribution services, logistics-related equipment. It's an amazing place. And they serve 18 plus counties in the state of Texas, which, as you know, is a very, very large geography. And they serve, check this out, you ready? Over 1 million meals per year. 1 million years to people who are having difficulty getting good nutrition on a regular basis. If that's not something that hits you right here as purpose, I don't know what will. I met them the day I walked in, and HR manager, one of the HR staff there, took me with a few others on the team and gave me the tour and explained everything in detail I was just briefly sharing. And I was blown away. It was so world class. It looked like some amazing corporations that I've been inside before. And the numbers about who they're helping blew me away. And then I thought, wait a minute, they're doing this with, I know, because this is a nonprofit, low salaries for their management team, no salaries, volunteers for their staff of over 350 people. And yet they kill it regularly, serving this community and making sure people in need get exactly what they need. That blows me away. I was feeling inspired, and at one point they just told me, go stand in the back and get ready. And then they did something crazy, right? Remember, this is one of my favorite gigs ever. All the managers, about 30 or so on the management team, they all walked at the right time over to the door separating the lobby, very large lobby, from an even larger auditorium where we all were. And they got in lines. And it was only then I noticed that they were wearing color-coordinated shirts that had pro-employee statements, which sounded, I thought, a little silly when I first saw it. I was wondering if it might feel somehow a little silly, right? Hey, we love you. Hey, thanks for your contributions. There was 4 or 5 recurring statements like that. They stood in a line, creating a corridor right outside that door. And then one of them walked around with a huge box, and everyone started pulling out pom-poms, like cheerleader shoes. I thought once again, how much did they mean this? But then I watched closely as they all started to practice. And a few seconds later, the right person opened the doors, and hundreds of people who worked there streamed through this corridor of smiling, cheering, yelling, clapping group of managers. It was amazing. And they looked like they believed it. Why? Well, I found out over time from working with them, they did. This was not a joke. It wasn't an act. They didn't read a blog and then think, this is a good thing to do. People might like this. They wanted to do it. They believed in it, and they stood in line and they cheered with pom-poms. They cheered with pom-poms and high-fived and said hello and called people by name. And I stood behind them, and I watched the whole thing, and it was spectacular. And I felt inspired. And I am the guy paid to go inspire. And I felt so inspired because it's easy to talk about purpose, but when you see it lived, and it's genuine, There's nothing in the world like that to restore your faith in the day, to make you believe more is possible, and to get ready to go deliver to the very best of your ability. And that's what I did. I stood in front of them. I think I helped a few people that day, but the truth is they helped me so much more. That's tied, I think, for my #1 favorite gig ever. And I've been in front of senior executives at a lot of firms that you've heard of. I've stood on mountaintops, literally, beaches, literally, inside museums, you name it, to give talks. But that day, in a fairly plain auditorium for the Houston Food Bank, I was just moved. And I am so happy to give them props and to tell you that they exist, and that wherever you live, there's probably an organization very similar to them who's also doing this type of good work. They have purpose. And purpose drives us. It creates passion to help us feel conviction, to stay focused and get some grit, and then persevere when things get tough. That's what purpose does. Now, tied for that, this one's so fun. Tied for that is a gig that involves me going to prison. Now, thankfully, I did not have to do something heinous to go to prison. The truth is, I was contacted by an organization called Prison Fellowship. Amazing people. It's a Christian organization. Religion is their thing, and they use it for very specific purposes, especially in the world of prisons. They have all kinds of programs like the Warden Exchange, which is a pretty successful podcast I've been a guest on many times, where they help wardens think more deeply, more effectively about what they do. But Prison Fellowship, really, their goal is to help men in prison learn about the Gospels, of course, because their religion, that's their religion, and this is big, to transition out of prison effectively and go back into society and walk right next to you and me, and to do so with their head up, with value-added skills, with an attitude about wanting to be great citizens and wanting to be better versions of themselves. So this is what they do. They have all kinds of efforts to bring in donations to fund programs. And these programs, well, they teach people entrepreneurial skills. They use instructors, much like myself, to help these men relearn skills, to learn new skills, to change attitudes, to change focus, so that they go back into society flat out significantly better than they were before. They have entrepreneurial programs. They have, at this prison that I went to, they have a library full of all kinds of resources that you can learn. They have a Toastmasters group. They have all kinds of counseling. I was blown away. Now, when I walked that day through the gates, saw the fence, saw the barbed wire, right? This was crazy. There's guards, there's guns, there's a ton of men walking around in white jumpsuits. This place, by the way, it's a real place. It's amazing. It's called the Carol Vance Unit, and it's south of Houston, not too far. And I was, let me be honest with you. If you've never been to prison, it's educational, it's amazing. And for me, it was inspiring. I was nervous nonetheless, but not too much. You know why? I wasn't speaking. I was there as a guest. There was a big handful of guests that they had brought in that day, because the people who run that program want certain people outside of their immediate community to know about it. So they gather us up sometimes, invite us in, say, hey, look at the good work we're doing. Maybe there's a way, maybe not, for you to be a part of it. And so they brought me in. I went through all the gates and all the paperwork, and I did all the things. It was great. And I'm finally doing the tour and meeting inmates, doing classes in the library. And it was great. But the best part, I mean, the best part of the day was near the end of this maybe 3-hour tour that we were on, where everyone who's an inmate meets for a community meeting. They had a name for it. Forgive me, I don't remember it. Anyhow, it was a big auditorium. It was their cafeteria, I believe. And at least once a week, they have everyone. There's 300, almost 350 inmates at this prison. And they put them all in one room. And then the head of the Prison Fellowship Program, a gentleman named Daryl, props to you, sir. He gets up there, gets some updates. Some other administrators get some updates. And then the inmates take over in the best possible way. And they did skits, which were maybe not SNL quality, but they were awesome and funny. And watching your peers do things that is earnest, it makes you laugh. And it was great. And then they started playing music. They had a band of people who are also inmates playing music and singing praise. It was fantastic to watch. And don't forget, by the way, I'm not a religious person. My religion is logic and science. But when I meet the good people of all the other faiths doing good work, I get very excited. And I was loving listening to these musicians. And the guy who's Daryl, who runs the program, was standing next to me in the back of the room because his little part of the program was done. And we're watching the music, and he just leans over to me. I'll never forget this. And he says, hey, you're supposed to be a speaker, right? You want to go speak? I just met this man. I had no idea what was going on, and I didn't know what to do, but instinctively, I am a speaker. That's just in my blood. And I said, yeah, sure. And he goes, okay, I'm going to go up there in just a minute when the music's done, introduce you, and you can have like 10, 15 minutes. How about that? And I said, okay. On the outside, I was cool and collected. Inside, I'm freaking out. What do you say to them? This, without a doubt, is the most interestingly different audience I've ever stood in front of. And I didn't know what to do, and I thought rapidly on the fly. Hey, laugh if you must, by the way. I have another course, very popular on LinkedIn Learning. It's called Impromptu Speaking. Cheryl, I'm making you scramble here if you can find the link for that one, but it's a tiny course that addresses the very topic I happen to be sharing with you right now, and it's a good course. Anyhow, I'm standing there. I've got 15, 20 seconds to prepare for a talk in front of around 350 people, the vast majority of which are inmates in a prison. Daryl walks up, thanks the band. Hey, we got one of our visitors, does a whole lot of speaking as a professional, gave a quick 10-second bio on me. Everyone say hello to Dr. Todd Dewitt. And they started to applaud. And I remember, now listen, this is a person who stood in front of many thousands of groups. I know what the polite intro applause sounds like. And it sounds like this. It's a polite, civil thing to do, but it's not full of enthusiasm because you've done nothing for them yet. Not this group. They were thrilled because they love it when visitors come in, because they believe in the program they're a part of. They like sharing it with others. And when people want to be a part of it, that makes them crazy happy. And they were so excited that a visitor, because not all visitors speak when they're there, wanted to say hello. And I stood in front of them. I'll never forget this. I stood in front of them. 350, give or take, prison inmates, all of them wearing white jumpsuits, all of them with more ink than me. I'm talking about skulls and necks and faces and hands. I've never been in a room where I had the least ink, not in a long time. It was pretty humbling and moving. And they looked at me like, hey man, great to see you. What do you got? They were genuinely listening. I can't say that about every group, even though I'm grateful for every client. And I had decided in my impromptu preparation in the back of the room to talk about, well, it's a story called Paxson and the Gold Medal. It's one of my oldest stories. It's about something my son, who at the time was in the 1st and 2nd grade during the story, and he's now almost 17 next month. Amazing kid. But it's an old story, and I can't get rid of it because people love it. And it's about what it means to work your butt off and earn something. That's a classic theme. You can't get rid of that. So I sat there and I looked at them and I thanked them. Props for the programs, props to you guys, etc. Let me tell you about a lesson my son learned that you might find useful. And I went through the whole story, and about 2/3 through the story, I'm not done, but about 2/3 through the story, what you might think of as a climax happened in the story. And the climax was a time that my son earned a gift card from his teacher because of high performance on a very difficult task, which was a math test. And when I explained that he killed it, got 100 on the exam, and she brought him up, she gave him the gift card in front of the class. Everyone's excited for Pax. No one's more excited than Paxson. I'm sharing this. And something happened that just blew me away. Now listen, as a speaker, if you're any good, once in a while, you're going to get a standing ovation. I've had a few, I'm grateful to say. That day, I got one during the middle of a story. I was not prepared for that. I didn't know exactly what to do. I looked at them, and they all stood up and enthusiastically whooped and hollered and clapped because this kid in the story, my son, had just done something cool, and they felt it, and they shared what they were feeling. And I felt quite moved, and I pulled it together, which actually was a little hard to do. And I continued wrapping up the story and trying to be helpful and instructive. And when I was done for the second time and told them how much of a joy it was to be there and how much I appreciated their enthusiasm and how much I wished them luck on the next chapter in their journey, they stood quickly, all of them, almost in unison, because that's what passion and purpose looks like. And they clapped again. That was the only time I have ever received a double standing ovation. Didn't come from one of the brand name corporations where I have a lot of love and a lot of friends. It came from a group of prison inmates. And that moves me and intrigues me to this day. So why did that happen? Well, it happened because they have purpose. And when you have purpose, it creates passion, which is a driving emotional conviction to get done the thing you think you're supposed to be here to do. Their purpose was to love their God. Their purpose was to share that. Their purpose, and this is big in my world, was to become a better version of themselves so they could then go share that person with the world when they were released. If that's not purpose, man, I don't know what is. Okay. Now, if you're listening to me right now, you're probably saying, okay, I know Do It. Do It's a good storyteller. Hey, thanks for the stories, man. But you know what, Todd? Not every job is full of purpose, thus creating passion. Not every leader is capable of helping people feel purpose and then feel passion. And I say to you, with great respect, you're absolutely wrong. You're absolutely wrong. This is a profoundly important resource, and it is yours to give. You just have to remember to do it and to know how to do it. So for just a very brief couple of minutes, let me give you a couple ideas you can go use before we wrap up today's session. So what do? I mean, is every job truly motivational, such as teaching or being an educator or motivator? Well, no, maybe on face value, it's not. But every job can be seen as valuable and motivating. One of the things I used to love sharing in class years ago was this. Hey, do you think that garbage collectors, sanitation engineers, call them whatever you want, people who pick up your trash, do you think they more systematically on average kind of hate their job compared to most people, for example, white collar people who sit in offices in nice air conditioned cubicles? A lot of people say yes to that question because you know what? That's a type of dirty work. That's smelly, that's stinky, that's whatever, who knows, that the neighbors just put in that garbage can. That's just not the job for me. Of course they're not going to love it. And you are wrong. It's a theme today, me telling you that you're wrong. It's not true. There's plenty of research about job satisfaction, engagement, and related notions. Turns out with work like that, when they believe in the purpose of their job, that is to say the community benefits from what they're doing, when they believe in the quality of relationships on the team, when they actually think they have decent colleagues instead of people they just tolerate, when they believe their supervisor is a decent person they enjoy working with and working for, not just a person they have to tolerate. When those things are true, they will genuinely and happily report satisfaction and engagement scores that look as good as anything as you've ever seen. That is the power of purpose. So let's talk about how you can give that to someone. I've seen it done in many ways. The short answer is you want to love and believe in inclusion. And when I talk about inclusion, I'm not just talking about inclusion and belonging, diversity, inclusion, and belonging, which we've all talked about many times and will continue to talk about for quite some time. I'm talking about that in terms of the makeup of our team, but I'm also talking at a more basic fundamental level about inclusion in decision making. When in doubt, you get more voices, not fewer voices. I know it's not always possible, but to the extent there's time and to the extent that the decision will have a strong impact on others, you have to have their voice in the decision. Because when you do that, they feel like owners. And when people feel like owners, they will deal with the outcome of that decision, no matter what it is, far more consistently and persistently because of that ownership. That's the first thing that you got to do. Next thing you got to do in general is work on relationships, because people don't leave jobs. They leave relationships. I mean, you know the number one reason people voluntarily leave jobs? Bad boss relationships. A finding for many, many, many years. So got to have inclusion in all the ways that we think about inclusion. You've got to work on as a fundamental part of motivation and productivity, great relationships. And then, excuse me, last one, where is it? Oh, this is a great one. Last story, last bit. You have to learn or remember to connect people to the outcome. So, for example, with the sanitation engineers, you might just remind them, hey, you know what? We just won that award last year for most tidy community, or whatever it is that demonstrates that there's value added from their job in the community. You can connect people who often feel disconnected to the value that they add in a job in all kinds of creative ways. This is your homework. You ready? This is your creative task for the day. Think about how you can help them get past the drudgery, the monotony, the routine that often defines our days. I know this. And connect to the ultimate value. Let me give you the best example I've ever seen in my career so far. Back in the day, I used to have a job as a professor at a pretty cool school called Wright State University. A lot of fun MBA students who were my main focus for 10 years there. One time we're having this conversation and a student spoke up. I don't remember this person's name or I would tell you. And the person shared an example about connecting to the outcomes that really blew me away and defined what it means to give people purpose beyond a paycheck. They said, you know what I do? And I said, I don't remember, tell me. And they said, well, I'm in purchasing. I'm a manager of a particular purchasing team. I work at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. Him and all the people who report to him and some other colleagues in different areas of purchasing, they manage hordes of people who sit in queues every day and do analysis and paperwork, making sure all the bolts and nuts and pieces of metal and other things that are required by a certain section of the Air Force. I mean, they got to get what they need to help the Air Force function. In fact, this one manager's team specifically purchased products that support a fighter squadron in the U.S. Air Force. That's a pretty visceral, interesting, dare I say, important thing. And yet they got lost every day feeling like paper pushers. And their boss, smart guy, knew this. And so here's what he did. One day in the middle of the day, he gathered them all around, unplanned, unannounced, just called the huddle. Hey, everybody, come here. He said, I got something I want to tell you. I appreciate what you do. And I want to show you how much your work matters. And then he said, please say hello. And he introduced 2 U.S. fighter pilots from the Air Force who happened to be in town, who sometimes were over at Wright-Pat Air Force Base. And these 2 fighter pilots who wore their flight uniforms that they wear in the cockpit, brought the helmet too, just for effect, walked into cube land and sat with, how beautiful is that? How almost a show of respect, right? Sat with this group of, I don't remember, 10, 15 purchasing professionals and said hello and explained how the things they purchase make their planes and equipment work, and how in a literal sense they couldn't go do what they do if it wasn't for their efforts, the efforts of the people right there in that purchasing team. Of course, they lit up and they saw, in a way they never saw before, the relevance of their job. They started to glimpse this thing that I've been calling purpose. So I'm going to leave this with you. What is your creative opportunity? Whether you're just an influential person or a formal leader, what is that creative thing you can do to help others feel good about the role, to feel good about the relationships, and as a result, to feel purpose beyond a paycheck? If you want to think more about this, you can check out the links to those courses in LinkedIn Learning. If you like this talk, like it, share it with somebody. I'll owe you one. And don't forget, it's going to show up as a video on my YouTube channel. I hope you'll check that out as well. Until next time, be productive. Stay safe out there. I'll see you. Thanks. Bye.